I was halfway through dinner when my parents dropped it on me like it was nothing. My brother had racked up another gambling debt, bigger than the last one, and the man he owed wasn't the type you negotiate with. My mother pushed her plate aside and looked straight at me, saying I needed to step up for the family. My father didn't even ask. He ordered me to hand over my savings, the money I'd spent years earning, sacrificing weekends, skipping trips, living carefully, so I could build some sort of future. To them, it wasn't my future. It was a safety net for my brother, the one who bragged about taking risks and laughed at the idea of responsibility. When I told them no, the room went cold. My brother smirked like I was being dramatic. My father slammed his hand on the table. My mother called me selfish, ungrateful, heartless. They said a real family member would pay without question. But I wasn't going to burn my life down because my brother couldn't stop chasing losses. So I stood up, grabbed my things, and walked out. I thought that was the end of it until the fallout hit harder than any of them expected. This story keeps unfolding in ways you won't expect. And the next part reveals everything they tried to hide. Please subscribe our channel, please. When I walked out of that house, I thought the worst I'd face was the silent treatment. Maybe a few angry messages. Maybe my brother calling me dramatic for not rescuing him yet again. I had no idea how quickly everything would spiral, or how far they'd go to punish me for saying no. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls from my mother, 4 from my father, and 3 from a number I didn't recognize. Then came the voice messages. My mother's tone had shifted from angry to desperate. She kept saying things like, "You don't understand who he owes," and "We're trying to protect him." My father's messages weren't desperate. They were furious. He accused me of abandoning the family. He said I was choosing money over blood. He said I was the reason everything was falling apart. But the message that shook me wasn't from them. It was from the unknown number, a short, clipped voice telling me they knew where I worked, that I'd better fix my brother's mistake, or things might get complicated for all of us. That's when the anger hit me. Not fear, anger. Because for years, they let him gamble, lie, crash, get up, and do it again. Every time, they bailed him out. Every time, they treated his disasters like emergencies and treated my discipline like a personality flaw. And now, instead of fixing the mess they'd created, they wanted me to be the insurance policy. That night, my family held a meeting without me, but they didn't know my sister, the only reasonable one in the entire house, was recording everything. She sent me the audio. I listened to it alone in my apartment, hands shaking, heart pounding with a mix of rage and relief. My father said I needed to be taught a lesson. My mother suggested cutting ties until I learned loyalty. My brother laughed and said I'd come crawling back once I realized I had no one else. I paused the recording for a long time. Then I hit play again. The plan was simple: guilt trip me, isolate me, corner me emotionally until I complied. They thought they still had that power over me. They thought I was the same person who used to bend under every demand because I didn't want to disappoint them. But something had changed. The moment I said no at that dinner table, a crack formed in the wall they'd built around my life. The recording blew it wide open. The next week, things got worse for them, not for me. My brother's debt collector showed up at my parents' house instead. My father tried to bluff. My mother tried to cry. Neither worked. The man left after making it clear that somebody was going to pay. And soon. My father called me in a panic, pretending we hadn't argued. My mother begged me to just help this once. My brother sent a 5-paragraph text painting himself as the victim who had been misled and taken advantage of. Not one of them apologized for what they said. Not one of them acknowledged the recording. They wanted the cash not reconciliation. I told them calmly that I wasn't responsible for cleaning up a mess created by grown adults. My father exploded, calling me ungrateful. My brother accused me of being jealous of him. Jealous of what? I still don't know. Losing money? Destroying trust? Meanwhile, I focused on my work, my goals, my life. And something ironic happened. The more distance I put between us, the clearer things became. The guilt faded. The shame dissolved. I finally saw my choices as valid, not selfish. 2 weeks later came the message that ended everything. My sister texted. He ran. Left town. Parents frantic. My brother had packed up and vanished just to dodge the debt. And my parents realized the only person they could rely on was the one they'd insulted, dismissed, and tried to manipulate. That night, my father sent a single sentence. We need you. Not we're sorry. Not we were wrong. Just a demand wrapped in pretend humility. And it was in that moment, reading those 3 words, that I realized they still had no idea who I'd become. They thought I'd rush back, wallet open, ready to be the family's safety net again. But the truth was simple. I was done being the backup plan. I was done being the responsible one while they rewarded recklessness. I was done being the child they only valued when they needed fixing. They hadn't lost their son that night at dinner. They'd just learned I wasn't their insurance policy anymore. And soon, they were going to learn what real consequences looked like. When I finally agreed to meet them, I chose a cafe, neutral ground, a place where they couldn't explode or twist things into chaos. My parents walked in looking smaller than I remembered, worn down by the mess they had protected for too long. There was no sign of my brother. He'd vanished into the hole he'd dug, leaving them to harvest the consequences. My mother opened with tears, not apologies. My father tried to put on authority, but even he looked unsteady. They talked about stress, fear, family pressure, anything to avoid admitting that they had crossed every line a parent shouldn't. They wanted me to soften first, like always. They wanted the old version of me, the one who listened, forgave, and sacrificed. I didn't. When they finished their carefully crafted speech, I placed my phone on the table and played the recording. Their own voices filled the air, the insults, the guilt tripping, the way they dismissed me like my life didn't matter. My father turned rigid. My mother froze in place. The performance fell apart in seconds. I told them I didn't come for revenge. I came for clarity. I needed them to hear what they had become. Not the caring parents they pretended to be in public, but the people who expected me to burn my future to fuel my brother's mistakes. I explained calmly that trust wasn't something they could demand after years of disrespect. My mother whispered, "They didn't mean it." I replied that people usually reveal the truth when they think no one is listening. Then I gave them the answer they feared. I wasn't giving them money. Not now. Not ever. Not until they rebuilt what they broke. And even then, only if I chose to. For the first time in my life, they had no response. No anger. No manipulation. Just silence. I stood, told them to take care of the son they defended for so long, and walked out. The cold air outside felt cleaner than anything I'd breathed in years. As my phone buzzed with a message from my sister, "Proud of you," I realized something. I didn't lose a family. I finally stopped losing myself.